Part 4 or 5.
Do you know John Kerry, Houston?
We did one of these
we've
together.
now met virtually numerous times, but I've actually had the pleasure to meet him in person.
I'm sorry to hear that. You said you have or have not had the pleasure?
Have not had the pleasure.
It is a pleasure to meet John in person. He can do backflips off trees, or at least he could before he tore his knee a bunch of times. He rebuilt a dome home from scratch, basically with him and his buddies. He's installed 2 solar systems himself in the last week for friends of ours. And he's pretty nice sometimes, but he tells
well, I trust you on the nice part.
But more importantly, he tells the truth.
Were you not at that cabin in Tennessee? I feel like that's where I met most of the lead kids. He wasn't there. I brought Abby.
No, I don't think I was.
Okay, it was like right after the summer checkout time. I thought you might have been there, but
it was a big like sleeping cabin. Remember it had like bunk beds, like 100 people could have slept in there, but there were no
ping pong tables.
Like Darren.
No, because I ended up going home a week early because I had a wedding. I think the weekend of August or maybe the last weekend of July, but I remember I went home 1 week early.
Okay. I just met a lot of the lead kids from West Virginia at that cabin, and there were so many of them. It's possible we did meet and I just don't recall it, but
yeah, I know I wasn't at that cabin because I went home I checked out a week earlier. Let me forward you.
You really missed out, dude. It could have been a great life. Like that was the turn.
It could have. Imagine how something that small would have changed so much in my life.
That's a weird thing is you never know which small things are going to change everything. I can look back to very specific conversations that put me on an entirely different path in life. And if you knew which ones those were going into it, you could save a lot of time. If you actually could know this is going to be worth my time, this is definitely not going to be worth my time. But you have to kind of like do it to figure out if it's worth your time. And only you get to decide that.
Me and Ange were talking about this on Saturday, but in high school when we met, it was because my best friend, we had plans and they ended up falling through, and we were like, oh, well, we'll go to this girl's pool party. And it was Ange throwing a pool party. If my friends had not canceled their plans, I would have never shown up to that pool party. And we would have never met. And then my life, how did one pool changed everything.
Houston and Ange are in the waiting room. Is that you two, or is that Ange getting on separately?
We're joining on this instead of his little phone.
So we're still here.
Yay! The beautiful couple. Hello, Solar Earthsy pals. So sorry we missed each other last week, brother. It got wild, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you had some extra time to think about what's going on. What's up?
Yeah. Last week was not a good week for us. We just got super busy, and then we started, because we both work from home, started to get cabin fever, and it was just a rough week. So and it was the end of the month. We kind of and working in sales, the end of the month is like the worst. But after Friday, we just kind of disconnected and went to San Antonio for the weekend.
You go to the Riverwalk?
Yes, we stayed on the Riverwalk.
Oh my gosh. I spent a lot of time down in San Antonio for different events back in the day. That's where I met Mike Tyson, was in San Antonio at that hotel.
Hey, you want to know something cool about Mike Tyson? Where we lived in Ohio, his abandoned Ohio mansion was 15 minutes from my house. And so me and my friends used to go sneak onto the basketball court, his private court, and play. And the last time that we were playing there, we decided to a step stool and cut down the nets. So I've got one of the nets, and my friend's got a different net from his abandoned basketball court in Ohio.
And you ought to talk to your husband about not admitting to petty crimes on YouTube, but it is a great story.
Yeah.
Isn't there Sorry, Mike.
It's
Look, he's
so
already
like,
up for his nuts.
if there's like one person in the world, perhaps, that you just don't want to piss off by stealing his basketball nets, you chose that person, you know?
He left the whole house. It had been abandoned for like something years, so I kind of figured he was done with it.
Just
The
like,
tiger
I'm done
cage
with that. That's great. Let me see. Well, thank y'all for showing up again. Like, even though there's a week that's gone, like, it just really goes to show that no matter how motivated you are to move forward, life gets busy, right? Like, that's our biggest problem is that life gets busy, even if it's something that you know that you want to do. And you've had some more time to think about how you want to do it, because since we talked last time, let's catch the 0-person audience up on what's happened. So since we last talked, we actually found an electrician near you who is jacked. He actually used to run an entire solar installation outfit in Arizona, but he's an electrician by trade. Now he's in, you know where Georgetown is?
Yeah, it's 15 minutes from us.
He's out of Georgetown. Really cool dude. Was excited to get to be on a YouTube show.
Gotcha.
And was excited about getting it done as quickly as he possibly can. So good news. We have an electrician we can trust, is ready to move forward. Second thing that happened is that after a bunch of after about a week of back and forth with documents, because you just changed your job. Can y'all hear me, or am I breaking up? Okay.
No,
like
I can hear you 90% of the time.
John, do you want to talk? So the second thing that happened is that they got their financing approved. Now, I'm going to go to the other room and try to change my internet connection so I'm not breaking up. And I'm going to let John talk a little bit. So for the audience at home, you got your financing back, then you saw something on the loan that made you want to make some changes to whatever it was. I don't know if you want a bunch more panels or fewer panels to get closer to where your thing is, or you're thinking you want to pay cash. I don't know, but that's the big mystery. So we're going to cut to a commercial. Not really, but if this were a show, we'd cut to a commercial and we'd come back and find out what the change that Houston and Ange want to make is, so that we can get the show on the road. So I might lose you. I'm going to make John the host just in case I do, and I'm going to get a better internet connection. So bear with me. Go ahead.
Good. Barry is now the host. Congratulations on hosting your first YouTube video. Or maybe not your first, but this one tonight.
Yeah, thanks. What is the next step? What were you guys thinking about?
So we saw the financing, right? And we decided to sit down and kind of play with the numbers again, now that we saw the financing and what the interest rate could be, and where they drew those ceilings, which was very interesting because it goes from 4.75 up to like 7.5, all the way to like 10% the last 7 months or last 7 years. And so when it comes to these things, we look at everything in worst case scenario, right? Because like ideally we're not going to hit that last trimester, but like, again, worst case scenario, it's still something we want to factor in. So we know that we're able to cover that if we got to that point. And so we did the math and the total loan. So the loan
Off my math now.
well, I was looking at it because you
Gonna
did it.
Share it.
So the loan amount we got approved for, we were going for is $40,375, which means we would end up paying $65,269 max. Like that's if we just paid the payment every month for the 21 years, right?
That's $24,894.78 of just like interest and principal.
Yeah, so just
Which
interest
is-
principal.
That to me was a ton.
Yeah, so I think kind of what our thought process is like to step down a little bit to make it where we can attack the principal at a more aggressive rate. And like you guys said, we can always come back to the well. So if we do 35 now and then come back in 7 years and do 35 or however we want to split it up, but that way we're not overextending ourselves. And I know that we were talking about like the banking power and everything. And that's the other thing that like the more we thought about it, the more we were like, while they have it now and everything's great now, like if they decide to do away with it, then then we do have to figure out another way to use this power or lose it basically. And it's not something that I think we wanted to dedicate a ton of time to. I think we wanted it to just be something that we were able to use for ourselves. And if we do roll over to sell power back, then that's just an added bonus.
Diesel.
So I think we're stepping down from the 50 to the 35.
I have two questions. I wasn't there for the conversation with Green Mountain. Do you have to use that energy, or can't you just cancel your service?
So we can cancel our service and that's when they'll write us a check. But our whole thing is they don't have anything in there where you can be grandfathered in if they decide to change the rules. So while they're paying retail right now, if they come back in 2 years and they decide to pay 50% of what retail is or whatever math they decide to do, like if we were relying on that to kind of cover the extra little bit of the solar panels, like then we just got put on the hook for that. So that's the way we were thinking about it, is like, well, it's great right now. If they decide to change it, that leaves us between a rock and a hard place.
Okay. And if they changed it without giving any notice at all?
Yeah.
I like the way you're thinking in terms of, I really admire your fiscal responsibility as young people. Like to look at something in the worst case scenario, meaning the rate probably won't be this high, but they could be this high.
Yeah,
You know-
exactly. And the whole like,
Well, the way that they wrote it out was that for the first 7 years, like we would have a rate of 4.74, which
It's 4.49 after auto pay. You get 1/4% off.
they said we only got approved for the 4.99. So the lowest that we can get is the 4.74, which
Okay.
I didn't like that either. So I was a little iffy because I checked my credit score and everything. And I was like, it doesn't really make sense to me. So if that was for the first 7 years, then after that 7 years, it goes to 7.24%. And then after that next 7 years, it goes to 9.74%. And I was like, that's just so much like interest. That was like
yeah, so
that's like buying solar panels, like a whole other set, like 26,000 is so much money.
to just
So,
pay an
no, the-
interest.
Yeah.
Lester was definitely, so again, you guys obviously do whatever you think is best. I'm just making sure that all the stuff was thought through. You guys, so that's a loan that Abby and I chose just because we knew that if they went crazy after 7 years, we would just pay it off. We wouldn't pay any interest. There's no early prepayment penalty. We would just pay off the loan, and that way we don't. But if they keep it low, great. But you could choose a 20-year loan and it would be fixed the whole time, which means that you would never have any escalation. And then are you guys factoring in inflation too? Because, utility rates obviously going to keep going up. And so I didn't know if you guys were keeping your loan escalating and then not having utility, the alternative, not escalate. So I'm just curious how you're doing your math.
Yeah, so we basically did our math assuming like no inflation, right? So I agree with what you're saying, and that is something to factor in, although I believe the difference would be somewhat negligible. Just because like with the inflation and the inflation's one thing, right? With the power, I don't know what they would end up paying us, or if they would keep the rate the same and stop paying retail and just end up paying like the 13 cents a kilowatt. That would have made the whole thing a little more convoluted. Basically just stuck with the numbers we had now, assuming that they just continued. But the other thing is like, we know that 35 will still provide us the power that we need, and possibly a little bit extra that will roll into probably in the winter. And so I think that's kind of like where we were looking to stay is somewhere that some for us. And we also kind of believe that like with the economy the way that it is now, like I can't predict in 3 years. And so taking on that would have been a little bit more, and what that's going to change or look like in 5 years was just not.
Yeah. So John, they were thinking about way overproducing because we found out about the retail rate for Green Mountain.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get it. I'm
Yeah.
totally. That's why I was asking the question about, like, if they were. I'm assuming that they'd have to let you know if they were going to change their agreement, and then you could just cancel the service and bank it, and then pick a different utility company other than Green Mountain. That, but I was just.
But
It's one of those things where you have to kind of not choose to, if you're worried about making a risky dealing with risk. Like I just invest differently, and I'm much more apt to take risks than a lot of people. And so I was just curious about what they said in relation to that. But if they did just all of a sudden change their agreement and you didn't have any time to cash your credits out, then yeah, you would have a bunch of electricity that you'd have to find a way to use. And if you don't have time for that, it wouldn't make any sense.
And then,
yeah,
and if you want
but
to
the
keep
other,
a flat
the other
rate,
big thing,
go ahead.
I was just going to say the other big piece is I just don't think that we really felt comfortable with having a 40K loan sitting over our head. It's just we've tried to keep our debt to like an absolute minimum. Just in case, like I think we truly believe that like this economy is being held up by straws and sticks right now.
Yeah.
And so being overcommitted is like the absolute last thing that we wanted to do.
Cool. So if you're just paying for what your electric bill would have been anyway, with the money that
Yeah.
you're saving from not buying electricity, then it creates a different value proposition for you, because you know that no matter how bad the economy gets, you're going to pay your own utility bill. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Because a
Like,
lot of
that's-
people, I'm going to say this for the sake of anybody that might watch this in the future, not to push back on it, but just to create awareness, is that when people are talking about having a debt hanging over their head, you know what they're almost never thinking of?
What?
The debt you already have hanging over your head, called your utility bill, that is never going to go away. But for y'all it is. It's about to go away tonight or sometime very soon. But y'all are, so
Yeah,
that
and that was the other thing is like, I don't know, the 50 panels we picked were basically going to take our utility bill and double it.
right.
And so now I think we want to go backwards a little bit and
Great.
just do the 35 where
We
we
would still profit on it. It wouldn't be like the lowest just to cancel out the bill. I think we would still end up making money on it. It just wouldn't be a ton of panels, like a ton extra,
yeah.
which I am a lot better about doing that.
Well, Ange, let's do that then. Let's stop fighting. It's not a fight. It's about you get what you
No, it's
want.
not-
Like, and it makes
It wasn't-
I saw the number jump from like 40 to automatically, then it's like 60,000. I was like, that's like a huge difference.
have you ever done the amortization calculations of your mortgage and seen how much of your it's terrible, isn't it?
we pay,
That percentage is like half of what this offer was.
well, yeah, but that's a mortgage.
Come take
yeah,
your
our-
house.
Yeah,
There's no lien on your property, by the way, if you go solar. It's with us this way. It's just there's a lien on the equipment where they can come take your solar panels from you.
Yeah, but to your point with doing that mortgage payment calculator, we put a little extra towards principal every month we're trying to knock out a 30-year and 15 years. So kind of the goal.
Heck yeah, guys. Well, Houston and Ange, both of you, if the economy does go terribly, you're welcome to come work with us, because I'm sure if we had talented people who believed in what we were doing, who are beautiful and smart, we could probably help a lot of people go solar together, and you wouldn't have to worry about paying your bills. You're always invited to be a part of the team. So
Well, we appreciate that.
Well, if the housing market crashes,
market crashes,
Yeah.
we're going to still need electricity. It's one of the few things. And then people might actually be willing to hear, hey, you can save money. You know what? This saves you money. By the way, guys, going solar saves you money. That's a good thing to do. But
So just something to bring up engineering wise, because you guys are going down, you can now have one solar instead of 2. So Lester, you might have just shown the difference between preparing to possibly get batteries in the future or having micro inverters, because we talked about this before. It probably isn't fresh, but if you know you're not going to want batteries, then you get micro inverters. If you know that it's possible you want batteries, then you get the Solarc, which is a really easy way to add batteries later. And in the past, when you guys had the amount of panels you chose, it would have required 2 Solarcs, and they're like $6,000 a piece to be able to get enough panels fit on there. But now you'd either have to choose 32 panels or 36 panels. 35 wouldn't be a good choice because of the way that the inverter functions. And you couldn't use the 365s. You'd have to use the 350 Canadians, which is what I thought we chose anyway. That's not on the, isn't that what we decided last time?
We did, actually, yeah, but we've got to change it. There's the 48 for the Canadians. And then we just, yeah, there it is. The Canadian solars. That's correct. 350,
Okay.
64.
Yeah. So engineering wise, I mean, again, you can choose 35 panels, but you're just in a unique situation now to probably spend the exact same amount of money or something very close.
I don't think 36 will fit on that westward facing.
I just did the math. Okay. I don't know about measurements, but I know it'll fit on the inverter.
Okay. We'll figure that when we get to engineering, but we're still waiting for some pictures, guys.
Yes, that is on tomorrow. No, it's on tomorrow. Listen, I wanted to make sure we knew everything before anybody started the ball in motion. And I knew that those pictures are like, once those pictures are taken, this ball is in full force. So I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. Everybody was on the same page before those pictures got.
I still think we can get this up before your birthday if we get on it. On June 20th, it could very well we could reach our goals. So what would so your options are 36 is the way to go. If there's enough room on your roof. 32 is the way to go if there's not enough room on your roof. And we won't know that until we have the pictures. But so with 36 or 32, probably the way to do it would be to charge you for 36 and then to give you a refund if it won't fit. And we can make the numbers work for that. Like it's just 36 and 35 really aren't any different.
That's only like, show them the difference in cost real quick, just because I know that you guys were going with micro inverters before, but this might be almost identical. Because you can take off the critical load panel.
All right, so let's look at this. So if we did 36 panels.
And while Lester's doing the math on that, do you guys have questions about what I just suggested? We talked about it last time, but I know it's been like a month, or not a month, but weeks.
Yeah, so we know exactly what you're talking about. So now we'd be going back to the storage ready option instead. Yeah, the storage ready option. So basically, it's super easy to just put a battery in there versus the micro inverters, which was the one which makes it a little harder to add batteries, just because then you got to take the power from DC to AC, or was it AC to DC?
Yeah, you got it right. But yeah, there's just 4 inversions. The panels are DC. The inverters, the micro inverters, make it AC on the back of the panel. And then if you wanted to charge a battery, you got to go back to DC. And then if you wanted to use the electricity, you got to go back to AC in order to use it in your house. So you're inverting 4 times, and it's just an inefficient and very expensive way to put batteries in your house. And they typically aren't able to give you as much energy and as far as output at a given moment. And so you'd be paying more money to have less amount of backup power, and especially if you can prepare yourself. It's actually a Texas inverter too. Those guys, they're in Texas. But is it the same? Is it a lot more, Lester?
I think I must be doing something wrong because it looks almost exactly the same.
It should be really close. It's like
in the micro inverter is 30,526 for 36 panels. And the battery ready is actually less. because that makes sense because it's a full inverter versus a micro inverter on every one. So
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It just might be a smarter way to go than micro inverters is all I was considering.
it's the same price now. Actually, something looks wrong
Go
here.
slower. I'll
Yeah.
look over it if you go slower.
Okay, this is not right. This is right. So let's look at the micro inverted system.
Okay.
We have 36 350 watt panels. I know you said 35. For engineering
Yep.
purposes, it needs to be 36 or 32. Like,
Okay. 36 works for us.
cool. For service fees, panels, micros, racking, shipping, combiner boxes, imperfect information fund is, we've taken that out of our prices.
Leave that in there. I like that being in there.
Okay, leave that in there. You get a little rebate back.
That's fine with us. I just like that being in there because there is a strong chance that there is an imperfect information and I don't want you to come back and be like, hey, we took it out, but now we need it. I'd rather be there. And if we use it, we use it. If not, we get it back or whatever.
Glad you trust us. And you will. So this is the panels.
That makes sense.
We found out about there are no RSDs required with DOR. We found out like the very first day.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah. It was like 2011 or something, NEC code. Luke found
Great.
out very early
And
on.
now is the formula calculating in the critical load panel?
No, the formula does not calculate the critical load panel as part of the cost. See how it's left
Okay.
out.
Yeah, and shipping's probably high too because you're not getting batteries. So shipping will probably be about $1,000. You'll save $600 there, but we'll leave it. It'll be money you get back. So,
The difference, man, is 500. It's $1,200 to be ready for batteries and to save $20,000 later. The difference in it's $194 per month if you're going to use that whole $8,000 tax credit. And you have more than that money in the imperfect information fund. So chances are, like, whatever you were going to spend already, it doesn't matter. This is not an upsell attempt. Here's a story of our friend in Texas before we learned how to do this well, before we actually wanted to have this conversation with people, Houston. One of our buddies went solar last summer when we were still using third parties to figure out how to complete the deal. And because they went with micro inverters, 6 months later, they wrote us back and said, hey, our solar's working and we really like it. We got our bills and it works. We're like, glad y'all figured that out. Like, that's valid. Like, that's how it works. And then they said, we want some batteries. And we're like, you kind of painted yourself in a corner with the option that you chose at the beginning. You can still get batteries, but they're going to cost twice as much. And
Yeah.
So if you know for a fact that you do not want batteries, then just get microinverters. If you think there's any chance at all that you could want batteries in the future, as your friend, you will thank me for it when you get it, if you get it. So it is.
Yeah, and again, you can, if you want to, Lester, you can adjust shipping.
Yeah, shipping is. Let's take the shipping down to what it's actually going to be on the battery option, so we can compare some apples.
And again, yeah, you're not comparing apples to apples here still, but the way that the equipment cost actually works is you see receipts and you only pay what it is. So you wouldn't have paid that $400 anyway. But either way, just it's so close. It's one of those things where
$800.
Yeah,
$850 to save $10,000 on batteries down the road that you can just plug in. You can plug in your car batteries into this inverter if you wanted to. My understanding is you can use any type of battery with it at all. Is that true, John, or not true?
that's not true. Unless your car battery is 48 volts.
So you can plug in any type of 48 volt battery to it.
Yeah. Normally car batteries are lithium ion, high voltage, like 300 to 500 volts. So that wouldn't work. But you could plug in your car into your home, and when it's there, also supplement it. Like if you had the new Ford F-150, but your car's not always going to be home. That battery will always be sitting there and immediately activating if it goes on. So again, it's $800 more to get the Solarc inverter and and you can also, yeah,
Almost
so just,
like-
just a thought.
No, I think that's likely the route that we decide to go. Just because we've had the debate through batteries, pump batteries. And I got to tell you, the whole argument was like, oh, we've only lost power one time. And then in the last 2 weeks during these thunderstorms, we've lost power. While for only a couple minutes, we've lost power 2 more times. So I think we'll have that conversation, but I definitely think if it's only $800, it makes more sense to do it than to not do it.
You're really probably talking about getting back less money than you're talking about paying an extra $800, because with your imperfect information fund, there's not, it would just be crappy if you got back another $800 when you could have gotten what you really want, which is the possibility to have a battery. And just like, no, they're talking them into spending more money. We don't want to spend more, but we just want you to make a really good choice. Sorry if it's confusing. We know it's urgent for you, but what kind of questions do you have left? I can send you a new agreement. I can send you 2 agreements if you want one battery or one storage ready, one not. But whichever one you sign, well, let's get on it so we can get these things up by your birthday. We've got a laborer ready to go, ready to pull some permit.
Yes. I don't know. Do you want to do storage? I want to do the storage ready. I think it's just better for our situation. And now that we've reevaluated it, we don't need the second inverter, that it makes more sense now.
That's not like the stuff that I worry about. My biggest thing is this interest rate that's fluctuating from 4% to 9.
Yeah, but it's not going to change. It won't go to 9 for another 14 years.
I don't want it to ever go to 9.
But by the time it's at 9, most of it's going to be paid off, if not all of it.
Why would it be?
You're
Because we
muted, Lester.
Guys, to be clear, if you're worried about those long-term 9%, you can do a 20-year loan. And if you know your credit score is over 730, we can fight easy solar loan. You should be able to qualify for the highest rate. I don't want to speak to
Mine's
that.
like 6.
So
No,
6%.
mine's literally 764. I checked it to like when I did this calculation.
You looking at Equifax?
No, I checked my statement like on my Discover.
Yeah, it's sometimes they use TransUnion or Experian. I know that Easy Solar Loan uses Equifax, but you know, either way, you guys can definitely choose a 20-year loan. You could also apply your tax credit to it and then knock it way down and pay $140 a month and pay less interest. So it seems like you guys, the whole idea of taking all those resources and leveraging them into more advantageous investments, it sounds like you guys are, instead of doing that, taking your resources and paying down your interest, your debts, which is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being debt free and paying that stuff down. So you might, instead of, you know, if you really have a concern about the interest rate, just go ahead and apply your $8,000 tax credit to the loan, you know, be down to $160 a month. And then you're already at 23 grand of a principal. So by the time 14 years goes by, or even 7 years, you can take 1 month's worth of commissions at that point in time. You guys will be, if you keep doing what you're doing, you just pay that off. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, you know, I'm just not personally worried about the inflation of this jackpot loan, because I know that 7 years from now, you know, if I can't pay off a $20,000 with the swipe of my hand, then I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? But again, if you guys are actively trying to pay down your debts quickly, then take your tax credit and apply it to the loan when you get it. Don't use that for something else.
Yeah, which is definitely something that I think we've talked about. Yeah, I think that's the one adjustment we wanted to make.
You want to do these numbers I have right now, Houston, are 20 years, and it's a flat rate. There is no adjustment after 7. There is no adjustment after 14, but it's 20 instead of 21. And the difference in the payment, the initial payment, it's 192 with the jackpot loan, and then it's, make sure I put the right number in. If they don't give you
144 or something like that.
be 5.79. So the difference between 192 and 0.0579, 215, $20 more to have a month initially to make sure that you never get it up to a 9% or whatever it is you're concerned about. So that's really just how you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just lock it in.
But
if
yeah,
you
that's
want.
one thing we'll talk about. But I definitely think we're leaning towards the storage ready.
Well, let
The
me
30.
blow you over on it then. Jump. You're gonna make $800 from the next motorcycle you buy.
I listen, I
Like,
had a rental one, so I was very excited about that one.
you just
I
got
bought
a
it-
what?
Yeah, I sold it for double what I bought it for. So
Well, that's a pretty good way to do business, sir. You can sell things for
Yeah,
double what you pay for.
100%
I don't.
profit.
I just have a hard time believing that you guys are ever going to have any type of money problems with the way you view life. You're too responsible to find yourself.
I don't either,
But
but
I-
I think because we continuously make
Good choices.
yeah, and we overanalyze almost any kind of debt that we take on.
That's great.
But I
Thank you.
agree with you.
I shouldn't really be. I'm going to be doing in 7 years because I've literally only worked for the last 2. So
Yeah.
You want to have kids?
yes.
Oh my God. Think when they by the time they adjust that interest rate, we probably will have kids.
Isn't that crazy?
Better lock it in then.
Better lock it in.
At the rate Ange wants kids, he'll be turning 7 years old.
That's not true. 5.
See, when you have a 5-year-old kid, you don't need to be worrying about an electricity bill, guys. You need to have Ange raising those kids or doing whatever the heck she wants to do. Would, if you could be a full-time mom, would you be interested in that?
Yes, she would.
I don't know. I feel like I'm so.
We're gonna entertain this. Yes, yes, she will. As soon as she can figure out how to leverage it to me that quitting her job is more advantageous for us, it'll be a done deal.
So that's why we're getting rid of debt and saving up money. It's like so the kids can get raised the right way.
Yeah, so we can be one income family.
So just make it one big income, Houston. If we need to start getting back together once a month to do some goal set.
I actually have a goal board in my office, big whiteboard, and I write my goals on it and I track them. And it sits there, and I've got all my motorcycle goals and car goals, book goals, and I update it once a week, and I know exactly where I'm tracking.
Yeah, Houston, I just said if we need to get back together like once a month to do some goal setting sessions or whatever, you just let me know.
We
And
can
he
definitely.
just, you missed it, but
I've
he
been
just said
tracking
he's,
my
he's got his
goals
goals
this year.
handled.
Oh. Well, that really did my job. Whenever people don't need me at all. then
Our
that's-
internet. Sorry, our internet's been super sketchy lately. But yeah, Lester, I would say we've got a goal. I've got my goal board up. I have my work goals and or motorcycle goals. Every week it gets updated.
You did learn some stuff. Look at that. Anthony would be proud of you. Anthony I told you Anthony has solar already. He was one of our first customers.
And you don't ever have to be a single income family
What
because
is that?
we're gonna have solar mom.
Why is that in
Join
your
us.
house right now?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What
This is
happened?
not a, there's a scorpion going across our floor right now.
Show it to us. Show us.
Oh my
Atlanta.
God, that thing's so big.
Welcome to Texas.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you see it?
This way.
That little like speck on the floor. That thing.
Is that a fly?
I'm trying not to touch it. You just hurry and crawl under the couch.
I guess guys are not supposed to laugh. When we sold books in Texas, there were scorpions in the sinks and stuff. There was definitely
Oh my God.
Texas has got all sorts of wild animals. Insects.
Can you like flush it so that it never comes out of the garbage?
It's not gonna come out of garbage, I squished it.
Oh.
There was a murder
Never
on
seen
YouTube.
one of those
today.
yet.
Scorpion murder on YouTube. That's why this video is gonna get so many.
Like, where did that come from? And how did you see that?
I saw the cross white rug, the scorpion was brown.
Oh, now I feel like I had to clean the whole house.
All right. Anyway, now that the scorpion's gone,
I remember that Scorpion
Ew.
Deathlock was a great wrestling move by Sting when I was a kid.
I've not watched wrestling in so long.
Whenever I think of Scorpion, I'll always think of Sting. Well, I'm glad that it didn't get you. You get to be a mom after all. So, Ange, what John was saying is, when you do have that kid, you don't have to be a single income family because we're going to have solar moms. We're going to have the moms that have 2 or 3 hours a day to really put what they can into it, teach people about it. And we would like to have our entire company be run by moms if possible, you know?
I feel like moms would be the most productive workforce because they know they have a very limited amount of time to get X, Y, and Z done.
Yeah. And they care
They,
more.
they want their kids to grow up in a world that makes sense. Yeah, it's like, what? You better go solar. You don't want to be polluting or making it harder to breathe for our children. The moms can be hardcore. Moms can tell you what to do. You know.
Yeah. If I say that, it just sounds like a really cheesy salesman. If a mom says it, it's like, oh, well, I guess I better listen to her. I just go whoop my butt.
Pitch it at the PTA meetings.
Right.
But if you want to get us over a new contract for or a new agreement for the 36 on the storage ready.
Cool. And if
I
we end
think
up
that's
not
the
being,
way-
if we end up needing to go with 32, your rebate will be, so this is 36. I don't know why this keeps going. There's your storage ready. And then the difference is 32 grand basically. And then 32 would be 29. So there's, I guess, almost $2,400 difference that you might get back depending on how engineering comes back.
And it would probably end up being
Gotcha.
like more like $4,000 or 4,500 because of the imperfect information fund,
Right.
which you guys could invest because if you borrowed the money at a low interest rate, or you could knock down your loan and not pay that interest.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now the bridge is Houston. We have pictures that need to be sent.
Yes.
Are you sure you don't want to walk around the house and take the ones you can now?
Yes, tomorrow morning, send me a reminder. I will put it on my calendar for 10 a.m. and I will get those pictures taken.
Pictures of what?
They need I think like 15 pictures of like our
Let's
need-
count.
not the fibers, breaker box.
It's like
the-
seven pictures.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think they need a measurement of the distance between our rafters.
Here you go. I'm going to send it to you again in the link right now, Ed, so you can have it too in case Houston doesn't do what he's supposed to. We know
That's why we
sometimes-
need solar moms.
Like, this is for Ange. Ange, we know that you're responsible. And it sounds like Houston is becoming responsible. Like it's really heartwarming. Yeah.
He's a scorpion wrangler. You got to cut him some slack, Lester.
True, he did kill that thing.
He did what, Edge?
He killed it. Thank God.
The end of the scorpion. You're like Ric Flair.
That was the first one I've ever seen. I'm like okay right now. I don't know where it came from.
Came from one of the crevices.
That makes me feel like not well.
Well, it's been raining nonstop too. It's been raining and humid, which is wild because we're in Texas.
We haven't even opened the doors really today. Oh, that's behind your thing.
1, 2,
Is that
3,
correct?
4, 5, 6 pictures, 7, 8 with measurements. This doesn't apply to you because you don't have a metal roof. your homeowner's insurance, and a copy of a utility bill. So, I mean,
That's you.
I just won't
You gotta do
take
the
long.
homeowner utility
So
bill.
7 photographs of the house and then 2 documents.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3,
Bingo.
4, 5, 6.
We gotta show them how much
8.
electricity we've already used this month.
No, we just need it for your account number and stuff so we can do interconnection agreements with Green Mountain. Like, it's just, that's really what it's for.
Gotcha.
Like a lot of times they won't let you turn it on unless you have your most recent bill, but Green Mountain probably doesn't care. But having your account
Encore
information-
might, but Green Mountain wouldn't.
Yeah, Encore might.
Hmm.
We've got to switch you over to Encore and then to Green Mountain, but we'll make that easy for you. There you go. Look out. Look, this is what's standing in between you and solar and has been for about a month now. I'll send you that new agreement with your battery ready. You'll thank me to, after the storms come next time and you call me back and order your batteries, you'll be like, oh man, okay, cool. Hey, thanks for.
Hey, would the policy number suffice for the homeowner's insurance, or do you need like the whole document?
It actually, yeah, we actually need to be able to see the declarations page. It needs to show
Gotcha.
your amount of liability coverage, and it needs to have the words per occurrence next to it. So usually if you just send over the whole document, you don't have to worry about finding something specific.
What? Wait, re-say that.
Per occurrence in the the
Declaration.
declaration.
Do you see your liability coverage? You probably have like $500,000 or 100,000 or something.
500,000.
Yeah, there you go. So $500,000 worth of liability coverage. That's 5 times more than you need. And then what does it say per occurrence or each occurrence next to it?
It does not
It
say.
says limit and then it says premium.
You would have to look at the coverage statement.
Yeah, that's why I said if you just send over the whole document, you don't have to worry about like not sending over the specific page that we need.
And the reason we need this is to make sure that you're protected if a tornado comes along and takes away your system. This is just double checking.
Well, the liability coverage is for harming line workers, but
Right, the liability part.
Is that the right one or is that the flood?
We didn't get flood insurance.
I know they both mean the same thing.
Okay, well, this is, yeah,
That's correct.
yeah, this is correct.
Okay to go.
yeah. So if you just forwarded the document, that'd be the easiest way.
All right, Houston, I'll get you a new agreement over tonight. We'll bug you tomorrow. We'll get the
That
engineering done
works.
this
Either
week.
one.
And then we'll see what we can do to get this done by your birthday. Might have to find another. We have actually found 2 electricians, but I picked the one that seemed most ready to get things done with the best experience. But I'm sure he'll be just as happy to do this job.
Oh, because
one-
it's not
Sa-
microinverters.
Yeah,
Should I in the chat?
microinversion.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well,
easier to
Show
not.
the engineering to them.
Guys, is there anything else you want to talk about tonight, or you just want to say you want to talk to the future audience about making tough decisions and why it's important to get it done, or what do you have to say for our show tonight? Being the beautiful couple you are.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. I think that's all we've got for tonight.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're still learning as we go along, so I feel like at the end of this, once it's installed, we'll be able to give our input
Yeah, you guys are going to be
or our
jacked.
feedback.
The first time you get an
I'm
electricity
excited.
bill, I can't wait for you to get your first electricity bill. Our friend Matt down in Texas was just like you. He was like, I don't know. What about this? And then all of a sudden he gets his electricity bill, and 6 months later he's tweeting it out and sending it out on Instagram.
Sending us a copy of his electricity bill every month, bragging about it. Yeah. Well, maybe you guys can write Solar Urgency 101 when you're done, and then we can use it as a pamphlet to help other people learning about solar and the things that they considered, and helping them navigate that. Because again, to us it seems really simple because we're so immersed in it. And I'm glad to see people that are taking it as seriously as you guys, processing it the way that you are. It just reminds me that, we need to, it is once again, the best way to spread solar energy is through friends and family and trust networks, because there's so much to process that if you don't have a connection with somebody, it's almost too much to process.
It is. And then it's easy to get lost in the weeds as well. Especially, I don't know if you guys ever gone online and just started typing in different solar things and seeing how many different companies, different ways people do it. And then you start thinking 7 different ways from Sunday. And, but to your point, we should do a case study when we're done, and basically write it all up. And we'd be more than happy to help you guys. So when other people find themselves in our situation, you can just send them the 2 or 3 page case study and be like, listen, we've been here before with other customers and this is how it turned out.
And I'll join the mom group.
Yeah. It's like these guys were cool. They actually helped me understand it. You're talking about getting online and seeing all the different options, Houston. It reminds me, if you're like going on a hike up a mountain and you see 5 different trails, it's really useful to have a guide at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what we're for, as a guide to, there's a lot of different things that we could do to twist a lot of arms to try to make more money, but nothing is as important as making sure people understand what they're getting into and what's on the table. What kind of dog is that?
It's a miniature Bernese.
I didn't know they made those. When did those come out?
When did those come out? Angie, you get to start the mom group.
Yeah, that's exciting.
You said you want to join
I'd
it.
be
You
a-
get to start it.
You have your
That's
Facebook page, Moms of Solar.
And you can even be a dog mom and a scorpion mom, and it counts.
We call it sunshine
I never
eaters.
want to see one of those again. Not gonna lie.
We named the scorpion was Ryan. He with the short walked into the wrong house.
Bye, Ryan.
I never. That's terrifying.
Poor Ryan.
Well, I'm going to get off the phone so I can send you this agreement before I forget it. I won't forget it, but before I fall asleep.
You want all that stuff? Oh my god, kitten.
Oh my gosh, look. Yeah, look.
Do
there's
you
a
want
kitten.
all that stuff like a bill and the homeowners on that web page?
Yeah, just upload it. Did you get that webpage saved somewhere so you have it? I put it in the chat.
Click it.
Yeah, I see the chat. I have this stuff on my desktop. That's why I was.
There you go. Stop it.
Because I can upload it right now.
Great. That'd be fantastic. The faster it can be done, the better. I think you might have to put them all in at the same time. I'm not sure if you do or not. I think we made them all
Yeah, I think
mandatory.
so. That means I'm gonna have to wait upon Houston.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah. You had to wait for
Nice.
you had to wait for him
I
all
got
through
this.
college. You had to wait for him to
I
stop.
got this.
Oh my gosh. Don't even remind me. Oh my
My
gosh.
God, he's all the attention.
We have
I've
the
never
best-
met a dog that just needs to be laying on someone at all times.
We have 2 in this house. They're wild. I don't know where they are right now. There's Nash and our friend Sean. And then
Well, happy Wednesday, guys.
there's
Yes.
Happy Wednesday.
Hey Simba. Where's Cedric?
I'll see you guys next time.
Oh, there's Cedric.
Sounds like a plan.
I don't have dogs, so I can't be part of this club.
Got a kitten though.
The
That's
kitten's
cute.
definitely cute.
There's a Weimaraner. Did
Yeah,
you guys see Cedric?
Yeah, we saw Cedric.
They need attention. All right, guys. Love y'all. Thank you for participating in our show. Looking forward to the case study. I really would love to get this. What's
Oh
that?
my god. What did you just knock over? Oh.
He is.
They had to be YouTube stars, so here we go.
Terrible
That's so-
connection.
Yeah,
What are you-
sorry.
what are you saying,
Kitten's
Ed?
Spotty.
or Houston?
Kittens are so cute.
Uh,